Hey, welcome back to day 42 of Project Me. Let's just jump right into it. Right, where to begin? So, quick update, I suppose, of where I'm at now, given it's been a week and something since the last video, or certainly a while. I can't remember when I did the last one, but it was quite a good video. I sort of set out everything that's been weighing on me for the last little bit. So I got that out there, and I think that's a pretty accurate description of where I feel like I'm struggling in life right now. Some of those existential questions, which I feel like I'm far too young to have. But I don't know, I guess that's what I get for reading so much. You know, you read 1,000 lives when you read. It leads to a much more rich, painful, aware life when you read. So, curse and a blessing, I suppose. But yeah, a pretty accurate video, I think. It's good to get that out there. I acknowledged in that video that a lot of my logic was quite likely, well, quite possibly, and obviously very likely, flawed. And every few days I go back and I rewatch that video and try and find flaws in my logic that I will accept. And unfortunately for me, I haven't quite found those flaws yet. So I still wholeheartedly believe what I said, which is a little bit unfortunate because it's a vicious cycle with no exit, at least until I find some flaw in the logic. Right. It's an absolute travesty that I'm such a logical person. Like I need to find a flaw in the logic before I can choose to believe something else. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but hey, it is what it is. We move forward, even if I feel a little bit like a nihilist, but that's okay. Right, so let's jump into some more recent things. So firstly, I started the gym a while back, as these videos have mentioned from time to time. So I go every morning, Monday through to Saturday, for about an hour and 15, hour and 20, and push, pull, legs as the workout split. Seems to be working pretty well. I've made heaps of progress, but I'm very much a gym amateur, so that's to be expected. You know, newbie gains, right? And now I'm looking at cutting a bit, so getting rid of some fat, some weight. And so the big thing for me is diet and figuring out precisely what I'm going to eat, because I know me. I need structure in my life, and if I go about it haphazardly like I have been doing the rest of my life, then I know I will also end up snacking all day, every day, which is the exact opposite of what you want when you're cutting, right? So right now I'm looking into getting a strict plan. You know, I have my breakfast sorted, but what I'm going to have for lunch and dinner, and those will be my only 3 meals of the day. So what I'm going to eat for lunch and dinner to meet my protein goals and calorie deficit. I'm thinking of doing quite an aggressive calorie deficit, about 1,000 calories down. So my maintenance is about 2,400 calories, and I'm looking to consume about 1,400, 1,500 a day. So I understand that's quite aggressive, and I know it's quite a controversial thing to do, 1,000 calorie deficit, because you risk losing muscle as well as fat. But the research I've read has indicated that a lot of it is, so long as you maintain about 2 grams of protein per 1 kg, or about 1 gram per pound ish, then you don't end up losing all that much muscle mass, which is really what I'm after anyways. I'm just trying to get rid of the fat, and then I can bulk a little bit more and cut again. But this is trying to be quite aggressive in this first bit, just lose a bunch of fat now aggressively, and just learn in the process as well. You know it works for me. I think it's better to start off harsh and test my limits than it is to do it slowly and never quite know how far I can go. Right. So, anyways, there's that out of the way. The other day, this is quite funny because this is something I never dreamt I would do. I went to go watch a Colleen Hoover movie. I don't know if you know who Colleen Hoover is. She is an American author, a modern American author, I should add, and I have nothing against her personally. I've never read any of her works, but to me, she is the poster child of everything I despise about modern literature. So I went to go watch a movie about one of her books. It was not my idea. I had a friend who jokingly suggested it, and I thought, hell, why not? I like to think I have an open mind, so I went and I watched it with her, and it's called It Ends With Us. It's about domestic violence. No spoilers if you're going to go watch it. It's about domestic violence. And it took precisely 3 scenes for me to get uncomfortable. Not necessarily because of domestic violence, but just the way that, and my understanding is, this happens with a lot of modern romance books and movies and all that. If the guy wasn't so attractive, it would be really, really creepy. So it took 3 scenes for me to get uncomfortable. But anyways, I digress. It wasn't a bad movie, but that said, it wasn't something I would ever go watch again, much less choose to begin with. So it was an interesting day, but I'm glad I got to spend time with my friend. That was good. She recently had a breakup with her longtime boyfriend, so she's been feeling a little bit down recently. So it's good to just get her out of the house and go somewhere, you know. She's a big fan of Sylvia Plath, so I quoted one of Sylvia's quotes, the one about, your room isn't your prison, it's you. Get out and do something, you know. So I quoted that to her, and I was just trying to comfort her and all that, make sure she was doing okay. And it's curious how when you comfort other people, you always generally tend to comfort them with the words that you want to hear as well. So I had to step back for a second and think about that. But it's curious, it's interesting how that happens. But I'm glad I got to spend time with her and make sure she was doing okay, and I'll check up on her again this weekend. But in any case, yeah, some other interesting point that we started talking about when we went out for food after the movie, and we were just talking about how people have different ways of organizing their music, for example. And so for example, I'm a big fan of Lana Del Rey. I love Lana Del Rey. Might be a little bit embarrassing, but I absolutely love her. And if I were redoing my music organization, like my playlist and everything, this is not how I would do it now. But what I currently have is I just have a big playlist of every song I genuinely like, and I got a few smaller specific ones, like instrumental for study, so no vocals or anything like that there, and a few like Irish folklore, because I love my Irish folk songs, and a few smaller playlists like that. But the main one is the mix. But if I were to reorganize it, I wouldn't do it like that now. But a friend was scrolling the other day, and Catherine saw it as well. That's her name, Catherine. She was scrolling through, and she asked me why I don't have like a playlist for sad songs, like for Lana Del Rey. Why I just keep them all in the big playlists. And I go, well, I don't listen to Lana to feel sad. I listen because I just love the way she sounds. Although being sad is sometimes a byproduct of that. But it made me realize, because I don't listen to music, I suppose, the way most people do. Whereas they listen to it to feel something. I listen to it because I like the sound of it. But it made me realize that just as I turn to poetry when I want to feel sad, some people turn to music to feel sad. And then it made me think about, doesn't that romanticize the pain? Romanticize the struggle a little bit. And I suppose that's what the point is when you want to feel sad. You want to romanticize it. But speaking from experience, I also know that makes it way harder to get out of the hole, you know? You listen to sad music or you read poetry to feel sad, and you sort of dig in your own hole. So it makes it harder and harder to climb out of it if you're not careful. Which is a very interesting concept, I find. But that's neither here nor there. The last thing that I do want to talk about is very specific to friendships, but it goes for relationships in general. I am struggling to find the balance between effort and letting go. Right? You meet someone, you want to be their friend. How much effort do you put in to show that you want to be their friend before you have to start letting go because it's not being reciprocated? You know, and I think that's reciprocated is the key word there. I think if you were to choose any one principle that is the most important principle for friendships, it's not necessarily loyalty, because loyalty can be one-sided. It's not necessarily being there for someone, because that can also be one-sided. It's reciprocity, you know, reciprocating. It's a friendship is a two-way street, just like any relationship is, right? And so if you put in the effort but they're not putting in the effort, you have to let go, right? Because that's just not the foundation of a healthy relationship or friendship, right? But then the question is, how much effort do you put in before you start pulling back, right? And that's something I really struggle with, because I'm never quite sure. It's something I'm working on. I have very high standards for other people, and I'm going to rephrase it actually in an even better way. I'm a very intentional person. Everything I say around other people has a purpose. I don't say things willy-nilly. If I say, hey, we should grab a coffee sometime, I absolutely mean it, and I'm putting a bait line out there to see if a fish will catch, right? I absolutely mean everything I say, and I suppose that's the curse, because I hope beyond hope, and I hope quite unreasonably, that people also mean what they say. But the thing is, they very rarely do, I find. I can't put myself in their shoes. I can't tell me, or you for that matter, why they don't. But it's a tragedy in many ways. So to bring it back to my point, what I'm trying to get at is, you know, I'm putting the effort. I'm saying all these things that I absolutely mean, you know, to try and foster a closer friendship, for example. But if they're not reciprocating, if they're not also putting in that effort, if they don't also mean what they say, then, you know, I'm going up here, they're just sort of going down here, and eventually we just miss each other entirely. You know, so I have to know at what point, how far along do they have to be in terms of the minimal amount of effort they're putting in for me to start pulling back and retreat, as it were. And that's something I'm struggling with. You know, how much effort do I have to sink in before I realize that the effort is for naught, and pull back and save my energy? That's a question I suppose every introvert, if not everyone to begin with, struggles with. Who are the people worth getting close to? It's an interesting question, and I suppose it has a lot to do with your values as a person, and also the values of other people. But hey, you can only control one side of that. So I suppose in a way it's just dumb luck. Which of course begs the next logical question: how do you move on? good luck. Anyways, that's it for today. Those are just some of the things that I've been grappling with the last few days, particularly. Maybe I'll do another video this week. I'm not sure. We'll see what comes up. But if not, then see you next time. I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful, fantastic day, night, evening, morning, brunch, afternoon tea, second breakfast. And no matter where you are in the world. Anyways, guys, take care. Cheers.